So what supplements do you recommend for general health and longevity? Mizumi is the #1 product for acne problems on TRT. Check out the products using the link in the description under this video.
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, this is a huge topic. So first, before we get into this, I'll say this. It's easy to start taking all kinds of supplements, and I myself have fallen into this trap. You know, you go to an anti-aging conference, you hear about some stuff, you come home, you start a couple things, you know, you listen to a podcast, you start another thing, on and on and on. And of course, supplementation is really important. Most of us are not getting everything we need from a balanced diet, whatever that is. But more is not necessarily more. So I think when it comes to supplementation, it's important to be judicious and to kind of pick and choose and to not take too many things and to not start too many things at once. And also to keep in mind that we're all different, and something that your doctor loves and your best friend loves may not work for you, and you have to pay attention to your body. Any drug or supplement can have any effect on anybody. So we're all different and you have to pay attention. So that being said, I do love supplements. I think it's probably, I don't want to say impossible, but pretty close to impossible to get everything you need from your diet. We keep hearing about how the soil is depleted. And then, of course, nobody really eats 9 to 12 servings of fruits and vegetables every day. That's a lot. I myself do a lot of intermittent fasting. I think it would be impossible. And you do need to supplement. So there's a lot of things you could potentially take. I think that I would say that overall, if I had to pick one thing, that my very favorite supplement these days probably is vitamin D.
Yeah.
Yeah, you agree? You like vitamin D?
I agree. It's good for almost everything.
It is good for almost everything. And there's a few things about vitamin D. So what is it? Well, it's actually misnamed. It's actually a hormone and not really a vitamin, but we call it vitamin D. And I think everyone knows vitamin D, it's good for your bones, it's important for calcium metabolism. But what people might not know is that it's critically important for the functioning of your immune system. And more than ever, it's critically important because high vitamin D levels will protect you against COVID.
Yeah.
So who doesn't want to be protected against COVID, right? And also it has a lot to do with your energy levels, your mood. It's one of nature's antidepressants, on and on and on and on and on. So people think that you get vitamin D from the sun, and technically that's true, but you have to be almost naked in the sun for about 8 hours a day to get the vitamin D you need. I actually have one patient in my whole practice who gets sufficient vitamin D from the sun, and he is a lifeguard.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I live in Miami, right? So he's a lifeguard in Miami. He's out there in the sun and his vitamin D levels look great with no supplementation. He's the only one. You have to think about it, that up till about a couple hundred years ago, we were outside all the time. I mean, we were farmers, so we were always outdoors, and we did get our vitamin D from the sun. And so evolutionarily, it's just been a little blink that we've spending all our time indoors, and the body hasn't really caught up with that. So as a result, vitamin D deficiency is really widespread. Yeah. So I practice anti-aging functional medicine for the Medical Health Institute, but I also run an HIV clinic. I'm an infectious diseases specialist in my other life, and I check everybody's vitamin D compulsively, and I take care of a group of very young, very healthy guys, and they're all vitamin D deficient. So you just don't get it. And we love to go outside. We live in Miami, but again, you have to really be outside. So the other thing is that people take these suboptimal levels, and I'm not really sure why they make these supplements that have 800 IUs, 1,000 IUs, because it's just not enough. And people think they're taking vitamin D, but you really need about 5,000 a day to get your vitamin D levels optimized, and sometimes more. And the good thing is that it's a super, super cheap, easy lab test to run. So, and I like to keep everyone's level over 60, between 60 and 100. And actually, there's some new evidence that is suggesting that maybe we should even be pushing it over 100, but I'm not totally sure about that yet. I'm looking forward to the World Winter Congress on Anti-Aging coming up in December in Vegas, so I can try to pick everyone's brain and see what they think about the higher vitamin D levels. But for sure, I keep my own level around 80, and I try to keep my patients absolute minimum 60. And that's the easiest way to do it, is have your levels checked, see what they are. And if it's not over 60, then you got to increase your vitamin D. Now, one nice thing about vitamin D is that it is fat soluble. So most of your vitamins are water soluble, which means that anything extra you take, you're just going to pee it out, and you have to take them on a pretty regular basis. But we have four vitamins that are fat soluble: A, D, E, and K. And so those will accumulate. So that's the nice thing about the D, is that if you forget to take it, you could just take a few of them a couple times a week, you know?
Yes.
And so, yeah. And actually that's what I do really in my practice. I put most of my patients on prescription high dose weekly vitamin D, 50,000 units once a week. And that way they actually take it, because when I try to get them on daily D, they don't always take enough of it. Okay. So the high dose weekly D kind of does the trick. So that's my favorite.
You add vitamin K to that?
Sometimes we do, and sometimes we don't. I mean, you can get enough vitamin K from eating green leafy vegetables, but you definitely can benefit from a vitamin K. So when I do the high dose weekly D, it's just D. But when I put people on daily D, I usually will do a DK combination.
Okay, right.
So vitamin D, and then another thing that I really like, and this is, well, probably for everybody, but especially women over 40, coenzyme Q10. CoQ10 is an essential antioxidant for all women over 40. So I like that. I think everybody should be on a good quality multivitamin, because again, the soil is depleted, and I don't think you necessarily have to take a multivitamin every day. Probably a few days a week is good enough, but you should be taking it. Another thing I love is NAD plus.
What's that one?
So NAD plus, that basically, so in our body, we have organs, right? The heart, the lungs, the kidneys. And so much like that, inside every cell, you have tiny little organs in every cell, and we call them organelles. And one of the organelles is called the mitochondria. And the mitochondria is a big topic of discussion these days. The mitochondria are the little motors of the cell, and they run through some biochemical processes, and they churn out ATP, which fuels the cell with energy. And so the big reaction inside the mitochondria is called the Krebs cycle. So you feed the Krebs cycle with these NAD plus molecules, and then it spits out more ATP to fuel the cell. And so this has gotten a lot of attention lately, and there's a lot of different brands. Personally, I take True Niagen. I'm not going to necessarily say that's better than any other one, but I mean, it's definitely a quality brand. So I take that. What else am I taking these days? Turmeric, anti-inflammatory. Curcumin, that's the active ingredient in turmeric. Some adaptogens. I take rhodiola during the day, ashwagandha at night.
What about omega-3?
Omega-3, yes, definitely omega-3s. That's great. So those keep your cell membranes nice and fluid. They keep your lipids under control.
Another hormone that a lot of people take anyway is melatonin.
So
do you recommend it as an antioxidant, anti-cancer supplement?
Yeah, so definitely melatonin. It's one of the most potent antioxidants that there is, and you can definitely take it. I don't know that it's essential for everybody. I mean, I think taking a little bit of it at night, it can definitely help you sleep. I take it sometimes. I don't know. I think you need to be careful with the dosing. I don't think you want to take too much melatonin, but for sure it's a potent antioxidant, and it's certainly better than any kind of the prescription sleep aids, which are really poison for your brain.
Yeah, of course, we can add a lot to that for the immunity nowadays. I see recommendations for selenium just for the immunity as well.
Yep, selenium, zinc, vitamin C. I mean, but again, like you gotta be judicious with. I mean, I reached a point, I'll tell you, maybe about a year ago, where I found myself taking literally handfuls and handfuls and handfuls of supplements, and I said, okay, this is just insane, and I really started to pare it down. And And at the most recent conference I went to, a lot of the doctors were saying that you need to also switch it up. So you can get a bottle of something, take it, and then take a break, and then go back to it later. So I'll do that also. So I'm not necessarily taking everything all the time. Another key thing, sorry, that I didn't mention, magnesium.
Magnesium, yeah, sure.
Yeah, so magnesium is amazing. So magnesium will really help keep you calm, keep you relaxed. It's an essential nutrient for your thyroid. And the other thing about magnesium is the absolute best natural laxative that there is. So a lot of people have problems with constipation, and people take all kinds of crazy different things, all these detox teas and that stuff is so bad for you. And a lot of laxatives, you can become dependent on them, and then they destroy your natural bowel function, which is a huge problem. So a couple of magnesium citrate capsules at bedtime, all it does is draw water into your colon. You take a couple magnesiums at night, you poop in the morning, easy peasy, natural, safe, non-habit forming. So that's also, I think, one of the critical supplements.
When people work out like me, we tend to take creatinine as well.
Yeah. I'm not anti.
Creatine, not creatinine. Creatine.
Right. Yeah. I'm not anti-creatine. I don't take it myself, but definitely useful in the bodybuilding world. There's also a supplement that we all really love at the Medical Health Institute called Perfect Amino. And this is a blend of all 8 essential amino acids in exactly the ratios that you need. It's developed by Dr. David Minkoff, who really is kind of a genius. And so we all do the Perfect Amino. I don't know, have you talked to Rudy about that one?
No, not yet.
No. So, we all take Perfect Amino. And then the thing is this, it's really interesting. I thought for a long time that protein is protein, and that you look at the grams of protein on something, and that's just the grams of protein, but it's actually not true. And when Miguel turned me on to Perfect Amino, it comes with a book if you want it. So of course I got the book and I read the book. I gobbled it down. I mean, and it blew my mind. So you have 8 essential amino acids that you can't get from food, that you have to that you can get from food, that you can't make in your body. And so you have to get them from an external source. And all the other amino acids you can make, but that these 8 ones, you have to get them externally. You cannot manufacture them. And you need them in specific ratios to each other, right? For your body to have optimal functioning. And so when you look at the grams of protein on something, you don't actually absorb all those amino acids. And it turns out that the world's most perfect food is an egg. And you absorb about half of the amino acids from an egg, 48% to be precise. But even 48%, I mean, that's not that much, right? And that's the best that we do. So if an egg has 6 or 7 grams of protein, you're getting 3 or 4 grams of that protein in actually absorbable amino acids. So secondary to an egg would be meat, chicken, and fish. You absorb 33%, like going down. Whey protein, 16%. Vegan proteins, 6%. So when all the vegans are like, oh, I eat, rice and beans combined and it makes a complete protein, like, no, you're only getting about 6% of those amino acids. That's terrible. So a scoop of Perfect Amino gives you 15 grams of totally absorbable amino acids, no calories. I mean, it's a really good supplement. The whole protein story, it really kind of blew my mind. Because you just think, okay, I'm just going to add up my grams of protein, but it's a lot more complicated than that. We should send you a copy of the book.
Yeah, I'm interested, because I always thought if I take enough whey protein, for example, I surely must have all the essentials as well.
Whey protein actually is not the best protein that there is. I actually use a beef protein, which sounds weird, but it tastes really good. The brand is Equip, the one that I use. I don't know if you can get that there. We should put together. I have to talk to Miguel. We're going to put together a whole care package and send it to you in Belgium.
Yeah. No, don't worry. Just send me a PDF of the book, for example.
Yeah, the book it's mind blowing. I mean, It's really mind blowing when you hear about the amino acids. So what he says is this: it's like if you need, let's say, 10 parts to build a car, and you only have five of them, and you have 95 of the other ones, then how many cars can you build? 5.
Yeah.
And then not only can you only build 5 cars, but then you have this huge warehouse full of spare parts, and you have to figure out what to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really, really important to get all of your 8 essential amino acids in the right ratios. And so that's where the perfect amino comes in. So that's, I mean, this is a little bit off topic, but that's definitely a supplement that I recommend.
I'll look into that. Okay. Yeah, there are plenty more, but yeah, I'm like that as well. Sometimes I'm taking 20 different things a day. You say, well, this is crazy. Then I cut it down for a while. Then you hear something new, and then you start taking that. So.
Oh yeah, every single conference I go to, I come home and I start taking 1 or 2 new supplements that I learn about, and then I have to overhaul it.
Yeah, I'm the same. For the moment, because Dr. Jeffrey Rutterbusch, he talked about quercetin, so I'm taking quercetin as well for the moment. It's also good for immunity and against COVID or just prevention, whatever. Okay, thank you. I think we covered almost everything there is to take.
Thanks so much for having me on again.